This video will go through the key concepts of Unit 2.3, Leadership and Management. This video will go through the concepts of managers and leaders as well as the various styles leaders can take when managing a business. Firstly, what are managers and what are leaders? Management is about planning and organizing various functions of the business in order to execute on a firm's strategy. Managers tend to focus on the present, managing others, and following the rules of the organization in order to help business achieve their objectives. Managers tend to be more execution-based, having a tactical focus rather than a long-term orientation. Leadership is about inspiring and motivating others in order to achieve business objectives and drive the business forward. Be careful of saying something like leaders are better than managers. A business requires both leaders and managers to succeed. In fact, most successful leaders in business typically can be both manager and leaders depending on what the situation calls for. The question of how these managers and leaders make decisions is a higher level only topic, so standard level students feel free to skip to the next slide. Decisions can sometimes be made scientifically, which means that they are based on quantitative data, facts, and figures, or hard evidence. This means the focus is more on objective analysis rather than subjective gut feeling. The idea here is to collect as much information as possible to make the most informed decision, but this can also lead to slower decision making and relies on having accurate data. For example, choosing to buy a house might involve a detailed comparison of prices against your budget for the house, which would be an example of scientific decision making. By contrast, decisions can be made intuitively, which means they are based on an individual's previous experience and insights. These are based on the person's perspective or their gut feeling, rather than hard facts and figures. This can be useful when managers or leaders is experienced and quick decisions are required. However, it can be subject to the individual's biases of the decision maker. For example, choosing food for dinner might involve seeing what you feel like that evening, or you might rely on the fact that you know you like murder mysteries in deciding whether to give a new show a try. For the rest of this video, we will look at various leadership styles, which are the ways in which leaders provide direction to their teams. The first one is an autocratic leadership style, where the leaders make all the decision for the business. Decision-making is centralized, so the leader does not consult the employees in the decision-making process. And this leadership style is most appropriate for when employees are unskilled. This can lead to quick, efficient decision-making and can also be effective in a crisis scenario, but also can lead to worker demotivation as they are not consulted and can also mean workers don't develop appropriate leadership skills as they always rely on the leader. If you have ever seen Star Wars or Harry Potter, characters like Darth Vader or Voldemort are excellent examples of autocratic leaders. Next, we have a paternalistic leadership style. Paternalistic leadership style means leaders make decisions in what they perceive to be in the best interests of the employees. Here, leaders view the workforce as an extension of their family. This can mean that employees can give some input, as this is a softer form of autocratic leadership style, and the leaders are committed to ensuring the motivation and well-being of their staff. However, ultimately, the leader still makes all the decisions and leaders don't always know what is best for their staff. Now, if you've ever seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a character like Raymond Holt will be an excellent example of a paternalistic leader. Next, we have democratic leadership style. Democratic leadership style means leaders consult their workforce on decision-making, taking into account the varying views of different people in the organization before coming to a conclusion. This can be a source of motivation to workers who feel that their inputs are valued by the leader, and can also help them develop decision-making skills. However, decision-making tends to be slower due to the involvement of more people and limits the business to respond quickly to changes in the external environment. If you have ever seen The Lion King, a character like Mufasa would be an excellent example of democratic leader. Next, we have laissez-faire, which is the polar opposite of autocratic leadership. In laissez-faire, the leader is extremely hands-off with their employees, giving them total control and autonomy over decision-making and how they do their work. This can be a source of motivation and an opportunity for skill development for employees. However, this leadership style makes it difficult for leaders to supervise or oversee employees, which can cause challenges during difficult times. If you have ever seen Peter Pan or Jurassic Park, characters like Peter Pan and John Hammond are excellent examples of laissez-faire leaders. Finally, we have situational leadership. This is a leadership style that most applies in real life. which is the idea that leaders don't just take one style, they have to adapt their leadership style depending on what is called for in the situation. This relies on the skill and experience of the leader in knowing when and how to change their leadership style based on the situation. This style recognizes the need for flexibility, but not all leaders can change their style, and it can also sometimes be confusing to employees. This is a particularly important topic that has come up fairly frequently both during in-class assessments at school as well as the IB final exam. This topic can also be tested as a 10 marker. For more details and examples on all these leadership styles we have discussed in this video, check out the video we have on this topic on our website. And that concludes the key concepts for this topic. We recommend you to use these 4 steps as part of your study routine. The most important aspects are 1. Knowing your content, 2. Understanding the response structures, and 3. Practicing case studies. Unlike most other courses, only knowing the content will only get you to a level 5 in business management. Knowing your response structures and doing a lot of practice case studies and developing the application skills are key to helping you score a level 7. If at any point you need any personalized help or tutoring or any part of the business management course, from content to response structures to case studies or the IA and the extended essay, feel free to get in touch with us via email or WhatsApp.